Greenland. In the middle of the vast ocean lies a land 3 times the size of France, and a place unlike anywhere you've ever been. Greenland is the largest island in the world, yet it's not classified as a continent, giving it a unique position in the geography of our planet. You can imagine it as the Antarctica of the North, but with one major difference. Greenland is an island surrounded by the Arctic Ocean, with a frigid climate and profound isolation. Temperatures remain cold year-round, with winters that seem endless, and summers that are almost non-existent. The capital and largest city of Greenland is Nuuk, with a population of about 20,000 people. Here, you will see modern concrete buildings standing alongside wooden houses painted red, blue, and yellow. But these colors aren't just for decoration. Historically, these colors were standardized for survival. Red indicated commercial facilities and post offices. Blue marked technical facilities such as fish processing plants. Yellow signaled hospitals and healthcare facilities. In winter, when blizzards blur all boundaries and visibility drops to 0, these colors help people recognize safe places during whiteouts. Modern Nuuk is a place of stark contrasts. You can find a Burger King and high-speed fiber optic internet just a few steps away from hunters skinning seals at the harbor. Transportation on the coldest island in the world presents many challenges. In Greenland, motorcycles and cars are very rare, with only a few vehicles appearing in Nuuk. In rural areas, especially during the winter months, the main form of transportation is dog sledding. The harsh cold can cause temperatures to drop to -58 degrees Fahrenheit, making motorized vehicles completely unreliable. Many residents rely on the Greenland sled dog, a special breed that has co-evolved with the Inuit people over thousands of years. These northern wolves are so strictly protected that no other dog breeds are allowed to live north of the Arctic Circle in order to preserve their genetic purity and survival instincts. A hunter may maintain a team of 19 to 20 dogs, requiring a constant supply of seal meat to keep them working. They're survival partners, work animals that mean the difference between life and death in the Arctic wilderness. In villages, when someone needs to be taken to the hospital in an emergency, a helicopter must be called. There are no ambulances racing down highways, because there are no highways. Since no two towns are connected by roads, life here functions as a multimodal network of helicopters, coastal ferries such as the Sarfakittuk, and small aircraft capable of short takeoffs and landings. Beyond technological challenges, because high-quality fruits and vegetables cannot be grown in the permafrost, hunting remains the primary means of livelihood. Today, Inuit culture still revolves around the Piniartut, the hunters who venture out to sea to hunt polar bears, seals, and narwhals. In particular, survival here requires a completely different diet. To prevent scurvy in a land without citrus fruits, Greenlanders eat muktuk, raw whale skin and blubber rich in natural vitamin C. The texture is chewy, almost rubbery, and it tastes like the ocean itself. Another traditional dish is kiviak, made by stuffing hundreds of small auk birds into a seal skin and fermenting them under a pile of rocks for several months. The fermentation process creates enzymes and preserves the meat through the long winter. When it's ready, the result is a high-protein paste that smells intensely pungent, but provides essential nutrients. Daily life includes unique social customs, such as kafamik, a community gathering where neighbors enjoy coffee, homemade cakes, and reindeer soup together to maintain family bonds during the long, dark months. Kafamik events are held to celebrate birthdays, first successful hunts, graduations, or any milestone worth marking. Guests move from house to house throughout the day, sharing stories, food, and warmth. It's how the community stays connected when the environment tries to isolate everyone. Shopping is either abundant or scarce. Supermarket shelves in small towns depend entirely on weekly shipments. And if the supply ship is delayed by pack ice or storms, shelves can remain empty for days or even weeks. Additionally, alcohol sales are strictly prohibited on Sundays, and prices are significantly higher than in Europe due to heavy taxation aimed at combating historic issues with alcoholism in isolated communities. Living on the edge of the world also requires advanced engineering. Traditional water pipeline systems cannot be buried underground because the permafrost extends hundreds of feet deep. If you tried to bury pipes the normal way, they would freeze solid and burst within hours. To prevent houses from sinking when the ground thaws, engineers use thermosiphons. These are specialized devices that draw heat from the ground to keep building foundations frozen year-round. They operate as a closed-loop natural convection cycle. During winter, when the air is colder than the ground, gas inside the pipes condenses and flows to the base. This cold liquid absorbs heat from the foundation soil, evaporates, and rises back to the surface radiator to release heat into the atmosphere. Water is often delivered by truck to individual tanks rather than through underground pipes, and waste is collected in specialized bags because traditional sewage pipes would freeze and burst. Originally built as a U.S. military base during the Cold War, Kangerlussuaq now serves as Greenland's main gateway, with small aircraft connecting travelers to other parts of the island. Although its population is only about 500, Kangerlussuaq remains an important Arctic hub for exploration and research due to its proximity to the Greenland ice sheet. From Kangerlussuaq, you can easily reach Point 660, a notable landmark located at the edge of the Greenland ice sheet. This site offers breathtaking panoramic views of the vast frozen expanse stretching to the horizon. Standing there, you're at the threshold of an ice sheet that covers 80% of Greenland's surface and plays a crucial role in Earth's climate system. If this ice sheet were to melt completely, global sea levels would rise by approximately 23 feet, flooding coastal cities around the world. Another nearby attraction is Russell Glacier, where you can drive right up to its edge. The glacier provides easy access for hiking and ice climbing, and the sound it makes is unforgettable. Constant crackling, groaning, and occasional thunderous booms as massive chunks of ice calve off and crash into meltwater pools below. On the tundra near the route to Russell Glacier, reindeer frequently appear, moving in small groups with heads lowered, searching for moss and low grasses beneath the snow. Arctic foxes are harder to spot. They appear suddenly and disappear just as quickly. In summer, their fur blends with rocks and dry soil in gray-brown tones. When winter arrives, they turn pure white, almost perfectly camouflaged among snow and ice. As Greenland's second largest city, Sisimiut has learned to grow without losing its identity. Modern apartments and workshops stand beside old wooden houses, not to create contrast but to express continuity. For a long time, Sisimiut has been a center of movement. The fishing industry remains central, not as a symbol but as daily work that continues to feed families and shape everyday life. Notably, unlike many other settlements, Sisimiut is connected by road, one of the few places where actual road networks extend outward for any meaningful distance. This makes it unusual in Greenland, where roads are the exception rather than the rule. About 95 miles to the north lies the well-known settlement of Ilulissat, home to approximately 700 residents. Located within the Arctic Circle, the town's colorful houses are scattered along the coastline, creating a striking contrast with the surrounding ice and snow. But what makes Ilulissat truly extraordinary isn't the town itself. It's what lies just beyond. Ilulissat exists in a state of constant motion. Icebergs drift past its shores day and night. Some rise higher than buildings, towering 10 stories or more above the water surface. Others are smoothed by time and water into organic sculptures that glow deep blue when the sun hits them at the right angle. No roads connect Ilulissat to other towns. Travel is by sea, by air, or not at all. Daily schedules depend on light and weather. In summer, the sun barely sets, stretching time to the point where sleep seems optional. The midnight sun bathes everything in golden light for 24 hours straight, turning icebergs into glittering fragments that sparkle like diamonds. In winter, darkness dominates for months, and soft window lights glow in the icy air. People move carefully, conserve energy, and respect environmental conditions. Visitors come to photograph the nearby ice fjord, often overwhelmed by its magnificent scale. On Greenland's west coast, Sermek-Kujalik, also known as Jakobshavn Glacier, is more than a geographic feature. It is one of the island's most powerful forces. It is widely known as one of the fastest flowing glaciers in the world, advancing toward the sea at an average speed of about 130 feet per day. That's faster than most people walk. This glacier is literally racing toward the ocean. That continuous movement pushes enormous masses of ice, making it one of the primary sources of icebergs in the northern hemisphere. In fact, it produces a significant portion of Greenland's iceberg output, calving approximately 35 billion tons of ice annually. Calving here occurs on a dramatic scale. Massive blocks break off from the glacier's front, sometimes as tall as high-rise buildings. When they crash into the water, the impact can be strong enough to register on seismic instruments far away, creating small earthquakes that scientists monitor. This area is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not only for its natural beauty, but also for its importance in climate research. Scientists monitor Sermek-Kujalik to understand polar ice melt and its direct impact on global sea levels. Icebergs formed here carry compressed air bubbles from thousands of years ago, tiny time capsules preserving traces of the ancient atmosphere. By studying these bubbles, researchers can reconstruct what Earth's climate was like centuries before humans started keeping records. Disco Bay is a vast body of water south of the Nuswak Peninsula, serving as a gathering place, and often a resting ground for massive icebergs formed from Sermek-Kujalik. Because some areas of the bay are relatively shallow, these enormous icebergs can become grounded on the seafloor, creating a silent labyrinth of ice that can remain stationary for years. Their shapes are incredibly varied, fortress-like blocks with sheer walls, jagged towers that look like frozen cathedrals, strange domes sculpted by wind, and water into forms that seem almost architectural. Ice shifts from bright white under sunlight to deep blue when compressed over time, creating a color palette that photographers travel thousands of miles to capture. When summer arrives, Disco Bay becomes lively. Humpback whales migrate from warmer southern waters, drawn by abundant food including krill, and small fish carried by ocean currents. They surface and splash their tails among the icebergs, creating a vivid contrast between living power moving through a silent, frozen world. Watching a 40-ton whale breach next to a 10,000-ton iceberg is one of nature's most spectacular displays. For the local Inuit community, Disco Bay is more than scenery. It is an important fishing ground and a place where stories of human adaptation have been passed down through generations. The bay provides halibut, cod, and shrimp that form the economic backbone of coastal settlements. Farther east lies Northeast Greenland National Park, the largest national park in the world, covering nearly 375,000 square miles of pristine wilderness. To put that in perspective, it's larger than France and Spain combined. The harsh climate and isolation make it a crucial site for scientific research and a compelling destination for adventure tourism. Here, glaciers carve deeply through rugged mountain ranges. Vast fjords stretch for miles, and the frozen landscape tells the story of Arctic transformation. Scientists study the region to monitor glacier melt and its impact on rising sea levels, while explorers venture across this immense, untouched land for a once-in-a-lifetime Arctic experience. Northeast Greenland National Park is also the primary territory of polar bears, the Arctic's top predator. These bears hunt seals on drifting ice with minimal human disturbance. making this one of the few places on Earth where they can live according to their natural patterns. The park has no permanent human residence. The laws of nature are absolute here, uncompromised by human settlement. Qaqortoq, the largest town in southern Greenland, appears like a carefully arranged scene, with brightly painted wooden houses stacked along steep cliffs above the harbor. But the town's true soul lies not in its buildings. It is carved into the island's ancient bedrock through a unique project called Stone and Man. Launched in the early 1990s by local artist Eka Hug, the project transformed Qaqortoq into a permanent, open-air sculpture museum. Instead of placing statues in space, more than 18 artists from across the Nordic countries carved directly into the natural granite boulders and rock faces scattered throughout the town. Walking through Qaqortoq becomes a quiet treasure hunt. About 40 sculptures blend into daily life. A contemplative Inuit face emerges from rough stone near the harbor. Whales swim across a rock near the post office. Arctic symbols are carved into the ground where children run and play. The granite here is hard and difficult to work, forcing artists to patiently create softness from the roughest material. Art in Qaqortoq is not separate from nature. It rises from the earth, withstands salt winds and snow, and reflects the deep connection between human imagination and the geology beneath. You might walk past a sculpture 5 times before you notice it, and then you can't unsee it. It becomes part of how you navigate the town. Located in a lush valley overlooking a fjord, the ruins of Valsøy Church are the best preserved medieval Norse remains in Greenland. Built around the 14th century by Viking settlers from Iceland, the church has long since lost its roof and interior. However, its granite walls, about 5 feet thick, still stand after more than 600 years of enduring Arctic weather. The construction is remarkable. Massive stone blocks fitted tightly together with little mortar, creating a structure that outlived its builders by centuries. The arched windows and main entrance still frame views of the blue sea, recalling a time when Catholic Europe and northern expeditions reached this far. Valsøy is tied to one of history's great mysteries, the disappearance of the Norse in Greenland. The last recorded event here was a wedding held on September 14th, 1480, inside this very church. After that, written records fade. By the mid-15th century, the Norse settlements in southern Greenland had become deserted. Everyone was gone. Theories remain, but no definitive answers. The climate cooled during the Little Ice Age, making farming impossible. Trade routes with Norway collapsed. Resources were depleted. Overgrazing destroyed what little vegetation existed. Isolation deepened as sea ice blocked ships for longer periods each year. Not far from the Viking ruins, Igaliku offers a striking contrast. It stands on the site of Gardar, once a Norse bishopric and a religious and political center, complete with a cathedral. The modern story began in 1782, when Anders Olsen, a Norwegian trader, and his wife Tupurna, an Inuit woman, decided to settle here and raise livestock. They reused red sandstone from the ruins of Gardar to build the first houses, creating warm, rustic architecture that still stands out against snow-covered mountains. Today, Igaliku is a small farming village with only a few dozen residents, primarily raising sheep. Along the King's Road leading into town, green fields stretch out, and white sheep graze among red rock outcrops. It's a scene that resembles the Scottish countryside more than an Arctic island. Life here moves slowly, guided by seasons and soil. The sheep provide wool and meat, and the community maintains a way of life that blends Norse agricultural traditions with Inuit resilience. Narsak in southern Greenland is often described as an open-air geological museum because of the rare minerals found there, some difficult to find anywhere else on Earth. It holds large reserves of gemstones and minerals, including rubies and the rare mineral tugtapite, known for its ability to change color and glow red under ultraviolet light. This geological process began billions of years ago through complex events that created magma intrusions containing hundreds of different minerals. Narsak attracts both scientists and mineral seekers. but it is also an important agricultural area. The relatively mild climate by Greenlandic standards and mineral-rich soil support sheep and cattle farming, creating a striking contrast between lush green pastures and blue icebergs offshore. With colorful wooden houses lining the fjord, Narsak conveys the sense of a place whose value is not only on the surface. Much of its wealth lies deep within ancient, silent, enduring rocks waiting to be discovered. The town sits near the Kvanefjeld deposit, which represents one of the world's largest reserves of rare earth elements. These minerals are essential for modern technology, including smartphones, electric vehicles, and wind turbines. However, in 2021, the Greenlandic Parliament passed a ban on uranium mining because Kvanefjeld's rare earths are co-located with uranium deposits. This decision highlighted the tension between the desire for mining-driven economic independence and the preservation of a sustainable Arctic environment. The people chose their fishing waters and tourism industry over potential radioactive contamination. The waters of Greenland are home to the Greenland shark, the longest living vertebrate in the world. These sharks can live up to 500 years and only reach sexual maturity when they are 150 years old. Their meat is naturally toxic due to high levels of trimethylamine N-oxide, which functions as a biological antifreeze, allowing them to survive in near-freezing water. But this compound can cause shark sickness, a condition similar to severe intoxication in humans, unless the meat is buried and fermented for several months to break down the toxins. These sharks reside in deep, cold waters down to 200 feet below the surface, moving slowly through the darkness. Their metabolism is so slow that they are often called sleeper sharks. They hunt seals, fish, and even polar bears that fall through ice, scavenging and hunting with patient efficiency that spans centuries. Near the entrance to Scoresby Sund, Itakortormit is one of the most remote and isolated settlements on the map. It lies on Greenland's east coast, separated from Iceland by a vast stretch of sea. For most of the year, the coast is nearly inaccessible by ship due to thick sea ice that can extend for hundreds of miles. With about 350 residents, Itakortormit feels like a small, vibrant island amid gray tundra and massive snow-covered mountains. The only way to reach it is by helicopter from Nurlarit Inat Airport, or by boat during a short period in summer when the sea is calm and ice-free. This window might last only 6 to 8 weeks. Miss it, and you're waiting another year. What defines Itakortormit is its people. It remains home to Inuit hunters, Pinjartut, who maintain a way of life practiced for thousands of years. While many towns in Greenland have shifted towards services and tourism, residents here still rely heavily on hunting seals, narwhals, and under strict quotas, polar bears for food and materials. Scoresby Sund on Greenland's east coast is the largest and deepest fjord system on the planet. Its branching structure extends more than 217 miles inland, like the roots of a giant ancient tree. It's a true labyrinth of towering cliffs and frozen waters. At its deepest point, it reaches about 760 feet below sea level, holding an enormous volume of water and drifting ice. The geology here reflects Earth's long history. Dark basalt cliffs in the south, formed from ancient volcanic activity. Layered sedimentary mountains with vivid color bands in the north, showing millions of years of geological processes. Black rock, white snow, and deep blue sea merge into a landscape both severe and utterly still. Along narrow strips of tundra near the coast, Arctic life endures. Musk oxen, prehistoric-looking creatures with thick coats that can survive temperatures down to -100 degrees Fahrenheit. Reindeer adapted to dig through snow to find lichen. Seabirds including little auks, thick-billed murres, and Arctic terns that migrate from Antarctica each year. On a small, isolated island among the fjords of southern Greenland, Unartok offers one of the most surreal human experiences in the Arctic. It is one of the few places in Greenland with natural hot springs, warm enough for bathing year-round, maintaining a steady temperature of about 98 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, even when air temperatures fall below freezing. Unlike the hot springs of Iceland, the warmth at Unartok does not come from active volcanic eruptions, but from groundwater, heated under pressure deep underground before rising to the surface. People have used these pools for centuries, long before modern tourism reached this coastline. Even today, it remains a quiet stop where people can enjoy natural warmth while watching icebergs drift through the fjord, creating a balance between Earth's heat and Arctic cold. Rising from the deep blue waters of the fjord, Mount Uummannaq towers like a giant heart, two sharp peaks forming a distinctive shape that has become both a landmark and a symbol. In Greenlandic, Uummannaq literally means heart-shaped, and the mountain feels like the anchor of the entire region. Below it, a vibrant village of colorful wooden houses clings to rugged slopes. Life here is a lesson in resilience, shaped by long traditions of hunting and fishing. Small boats weave through frozen waters. Sled dogs make winter loud and lively. Above Uummannaq, some of the Arctic's most spectacular sights unfold. In summer, the midnight sun bathes the island in gold for 24 hours, turning icebergs into glittering fragments. The light is constant, disorienting, and beautiful. Sleep becomes optional. Children play outside at midnight. Fishermen work around the clock. In midwinter, the northern lights blaze across the sky, ribbons of green and purple curl above the heart-shaped peak, casting an ethereal glow over frozen waters. The aurora borealis is caused by solar particles colliding with Earth's magnetic field, but standing beneath it feels like witnessing something spiritual, something beyond scientific explanation. Surmulliq means place with glaciers, and the name is fitting. This massive fjord system, about 50 to 56 miles long, hosts one of the highest concentrations and most dramatic displays of icebergs along Greenland's east coast. It functions as a pipeline, carrying ice from the inland ice sheet to the sea. Fed in part by Helheim Glacier, one of Greenland's largest and most active glaciers. Helheim's calving releases enormous ice blocks the size of small islands, or multi-story buildings drifting into the Atlantic. The landscape is defined by scale and authority. The fjord's surface can be covered with dense ice fragments and massive icebergs glowing deep blue. This blue color indicates ice that has been compressed for thousands of years, with all air bubbles squeezed out, creating a density that absorbs all light wavelengths except blue. Wildlife often follows the ice. Seals rest on floating platforms, safe from polar bears as long as they stay alert. Gulls circle overhead, alert to any movement below that might indicate fish or other food sources. The 1972 discovery of the Chilakotsaak mummies remains the most significant archaeological find in the Arctic. 8 mummified individuals, 6 women and 2 children, were found in a cave where the unique microclimate of cold, dry air and constant shade naturally freeze-dried the bodies. They were buried around 1475, making them over 500 years old. Infrared photography revealed that the women had intricate facial tattoos, consisting of blue or black lines arched over the eyebrows and across the cheeks. This practice served as a marker of tribal identity and maturity. The tattoos were created by drawing a soot-covered thread under the skin, a painful process that marked important life transitions. The discovery of a 6-month-old infant buried alive, with his deceased mother, provided a stark look at the harsh realities of the 15th century. Inuit custom dictated that if a nursing mother died and no other woman could be found to care for the child, the infant would be buried with her to travel together to the land of the dead, sparing the child from a slow death by starvation. The mummies are now housed in the Greenland National Museum in Nuuk, where they provide an intimate window into Inuit life 5 centuries ago. Tasiilaq, the largest town in eastern Greenland, sits in one of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. It is located on Amasilik Island, deep within a fjord, surrounded by steep, jagged peaks rising like spears toward the sky. Unlike the gentler valleys of the south, the mountains around Tasiilaq form a natural bowl that shelters the town from the harshest ocean winds. Bright wooden houses cling to rocky slopes, creating a vivid contrast with the cold, gray stone. Life here follows a different rhythm, with about 2 residents. Tasiilaq serves as the cultural and administrative center of eastern Greenland, with language and customs shaped by long isolation. Before European explorers arrived in the late 1800s, the Amasilik people lived largely cut off from the outside world for centuries. Their dialect of Greenlandic is distinct. Their hunting techniques evolved independently. Their art, particularly the carving of tupilaks, small figures originally created as spiritual weapons, and now sold as high-value art, reflects a unique cultural development. Winters here are long and severe, turning the fjord into thick ice, where dog sleds still play an important role in connecting nearby settlements. In summer, snow melts, and wildflowers bloom at the town's edges. Arctic poppies, purple saxifrage, and Arctic willow create brief, intense bursts of color between granite towers. Greenland's status as a self-governing constituent country within the Kingdom of Denmark is a complex geopolitical arrangement that balances local self-determination with historical colonial relationships. Since establishing self-rule in 2009, Greenland has controlled its own judicial system, police force, and natural resource management, while Denmark remains responsible for foreign affairs, defense, and monetary policy. The strategic importance of this geographic region has made Greenland a focal point of American expansionist rhetoric for more than 150 years. This interest stems from the Gap, the maritime choke point between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom that controls access between the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. The island's role in monitoring the Arctic ambitions of Russia and China has made it increasingly valuable. The relationship between the United States and Greenland has been characterized by a combination of military cooperation and periodic proposals for purchase. In 1867, Secretary of State William Seward expressed initial interest following the Alaska Purchase. In 1910, Ambassador Maurice Francis Egan proposed swapping the Danish West Indies and parts of the Philippines for Greenland. In 1946, President Harry Truman offered $100 million in gold due to Cold War security concerns. In the contemporary context, the rhetoric from 2019 through 2026 has shifted from diplomatic exploration to more coercive diplomatic positions, including threats of annexation or economic pressure. Such statements have been met with strong opposition from both Copenhagen and Nuuk, where leaders emphasize that Greenland is not for sale and belongs to its people. This geopolitical tension underscores Greenland's transformation from a remote, frozen wilderness into a central arena of 21st century power competition. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.